Julie, thank you. A crucial ruling expected today in Donald Trump's hush money criminal case.
Judge Juan Merchan could set aside the jury's guilty verdict and dismiss all 34 counts against Trump based on presidential immunity. Or he could move forward with the sentencing date. So joining us this morning to share his legal insight is attorney and professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent, J.C. Polanco. So good morning, J.C. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So just explain quickly for the folks at home the motion being considered today and how the presidency could affect everything.
Well, there's some huge decisions coming out of Manhattan today. The judge can do several things. He can dismiss the underlying indictment and throw this case out completely because of the Supreme Court decision and the fact that President-elect Trump was elected last week and he's going to take office on January 20th. He sees what's happening in the federal court system. The federal courts are also winding down their charges, and he may just do the same. He can dismiss the case and then order a new trial after President Trump leaves office in 4 years. And, or he can just say, you know what, considering the Supreme Court decision, I don't think that we have a case here, so I'm going to dismiss this entirely. The last one, which is the most unlikely one, is that he says, I'm going to impose sentencing, and President-elect Trump has to come in November 26th to either pay a fine or to go to prison. And most attorneys will tell you that that's highly unlikely. I think for the good of the country, I cannot see Judge Merchan ordering that President Trump go to prison and be sworn into office from prison. I don't see it happening.
Talk about a logistical nightmare there. Talk to us a little bit about Judge Merchan and how likely is it that he would just toss this case?
You know, I don't think he would just toss it willy-nilly. I think that Judge Merchan, first of all, is a very respected judge, especially in the Latino community, and we look up to him a great deal. And if you consider how he was treated during the Trump trial, it was awful. His family got it. Death threats were coming in from all over the place. The disrespect was nauseating, and a lot of us attorneys, especially us Latino attorneys, were just dismayed at the lack of support that was coming in for Judge Merchan. So personally, this one has to hurt. I mean, if I were Judge Merchan, I'd be disgusted with just the mere possibility that I will have to get rid of this conviction. So I think that he would have to be, you know, it would be a very tough decision for him, but I think he can overlook the fact that he was disrespected personally. And for the good of the country and seeing what's happening out of the Department of Justice, this may be a tough one for Judge Merchan to swallow, but I think he's going to go ahead and he will dismiss it because of, not dismiss it because it wasn't worthy, not dismiss it because the jury made a mistake, dismiss it in light of the fact that the Supreme Court made this decision this summer and the fact that the man is going to be president on January 20th. He's going to go ahead, and that's my prediction. I mean, I'm into predictions, and I think that's what's going to happen today out of Manhattan.
So if he does toss it, what do you think his chances that he could possibly ask for a new trial?
He could. I mean, he could absolutely say, I'm going to hold off on this for another 4 years, just to respect the jury's decision and the process, and that no one's above the law. You know, the Kansas City Journal has an editorial today demanding that Judge Merchan put President Trump in prison and have him sworn in from prison. You see, there's a lot of support for that around the country. He reads these. He knows that there's a lot of support for that. But I think that for the good of the country and this time around, Judge Merchan is going to probably just say, we'll hold off in 4 years and come back and revisit this.
In terms of retrying this case, though, wouldn't that constitute double jeopardy?
It wouldn't constitute double jeopardy if he says, I'm going to withhold sentencing for another 4 years, or we're going to do a trial again in 4 years, because he wasn't found innocent or not guilty, and then be brought back up, right? So it wouldn't constitute double jeopardy. But what would be interesting is the evidence would be stale, right? It would be really stale in 4 years, and I really don't think prosecutors are going to waste millions of dollars bringing this up again. This is a very tough decision for Judge Merchan.
Yeah, especially because most of the counts are things that happened in his personal, like that's where the confusion lies, right? Because it's whether it's personal or whether it was done under his official duty as president.
All of that,
right?
The hush money, the strategy behind paying off the porn star, all of that stuff, right, was pre. But the reimbursement to Michael Cohen was during the presidency. And some of the testimony that was relied upon was from staff in the White House that, considering the Supreme Court decision that came out this summer, would not have been able to be introduced in the courtroom. So That's what that's what the attorneys for President Trump are arguing, that, hey, you relied on this conviction based on evidence that came out when the president was actually in office, which would violate the Supreme Court's decision from the summary immunity.
Okay, let's talk about the president-elect's new cabinet here. Expected to name Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Elise Stefanik, Ambassador to the UN, Lee Zeldin to head the EPA. Your thoughts on these?
Well, as far as New Yorkers are getting appointed. So if New Yorkers want to be proud of anything, we got 2 appointments coming in for EPA Director and UN Ambassador. The truth is that we have Senator Marco Rubio is a historic nomination because he would be the first Latino ever appointed to that position. It would be the highest ranking Latino to ever be appointed in the federal government. So that would be a very big announcement to come out of President Trump today. And he happens to be an establishment person with a lot of experience in foreign relations and intelligence. So, when you may not be happy with the Trump election, as so many of us are, but this is the government that we have to deal with now. And when you want a serious people put in office, Congresswoman Stefanik is a stalwart supporter of President Trump. And, I don't know her foreign affairs experience, but New Yorkers are going to have someone in the UN ambassador position.
Very quickly, Stephen Miller as Deputy Chief of Staff. Your thoughts?
I think that's a disaster. I mean, he's so hard on undocumented immigrant families. But it goes to show you how far to the right and how devastating some of President-elect Trump's deportation plans are for families across New York. Not only is his Deputy Chief of Staff a hardliner, but the person he's just appointed as border czar has said that one of the things that he would encourage people to do, not to separate families, is to deport families altogether. I mean, that's awful. And we're going to see more and more of that, especially with the nomination of Governor Noem for Homeland Security Chief. You're going to see a lot of conservatives happy today, but a lot of people that care about the undocumented community are going to be very concerned.
Well, we're also talking about due process, too, because it's going to be a legal nightmare, because in '93, the Supreme Court said that even immigrants who are here undocumented, they deserve due process.
Yeah, but about 1.5 million of the people that are slated to be deported with the new administration have already been found, have gone through the due process, and have been declared that they're here undocumented. Now, so that's going to be their cover, to your point, Craig. They're going to come after those people because they already had due process. So we don't have to worry about due process for them. It's the other 14 million that I'm concerned about. And what about those kids that were born here? What about those kids that came here and had no clue of where they were going, had no decision to make when they were brought here undocumented? They're going to pay the price. And it hurts today to know that some of these folks are getting nominated.
All right, we are out of time. JC, we got a lot. We have a lot to talk about. Definitely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.